for those reasons, I would want to get a divorce.
What are you feeling right now?
He has commitment issues. Like, it wasn't the attraction thing. It would have been something else. And I just feel where he can fully commit to the marriage. And I don't really think he was ready to be married.
I guess that's what you get when you say, oh, she doesn't have a voice, she doesn't have a voice. Well, Jasmine gave him the read of the century that he'll remember for a lifetime. Okay, am I the only one who was asking, why are we pretending that Gina and Clint have to make a decision? They made a decision when they were on honeymoon in Mexico, when they fought and they decided to go their separate ways. And all they've done is just stay on the show so that Gina could advertise her company, because she's plugged it at every opportunity, even on decision day. And also, I think the only person surprised with the decision was Aries. I don't think he expected Jasmine's response. But anyway, I digress. Hey there, thanks for stopping by. It's your girl Valerie. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, please click the like button. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notification bell for when I upload new videos. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Married at First Sight, Season 16, Episode 20. It's finally decision day. It's finally decision day. And it's like, I think personally, we didn't need a decision from Aries or Jasmine. We didn't need a decision from Clint or Gina, because they've already made their decisions. I think the only two couples we need, well, Nicole and Clarisse, we also didn't need a decision because they've been saying that they're madly in love. So I think the only people who needed a decision from were Shaq and Kirsten, because everybody else, I think their decisions were obvious. I think they were just dragged along just so this show could have episodes to sort of put out there. And that's just my opinion. Anyway, the episode starts with everybody, packing up to go back to, their own place, because they're spending the night in separate places so that they can make a decision on what they're going to do. And Kirsten and Shaq, for me, were a bit touchy-feely. I was a bit surprised by that. I didn't expect that. Even the fact that Shaq sort of laid on top of Kirsten and was hugging her. I was personally surprised by that. Aries, well, Aries, I don't get Aries. Aries, I don't get him. I think Aries left it too long, and then when he realized that Jasmine was turned off, he decided to chase after her, but that was too late. And I don't know, I think when he left, he knew what her decision was, or he expected her decision to be something it was not, given the fact that he had put in effort at the last minute. And Clint and Gina was a waste of time. I don't even know why we had to see that. And Nicole and Chris, it is what it is. So I'll discuss the couples as they made their decisions, and then we'll see how we go. If there's anything else I think I need to add, I'll add it at the end. The only thing is, I did mention this on Twitter, is the fact that I think people have been chasing that, oh, we need a more expert visit, we need more expert visits. I don't think they need more expert visits. I think they need to be bringing in the couples that were married in this process to sort of coach and mentor, instead of bringing the external experts that they're bringing. I think they need to be bringing in people like Jamie and Doug to talk about their journey and explain to people how they were able to turn that round. Dion and Greg, they also had issues and they needed Pastor Carl to help them turn their ship round. Shanice and Jeffy are another couple that had issues. And so I think they need to bring couples that have been through this process, that know the hurdles that you will face as a result of this process, and that will help sort of guide them. Because I personally think Shaq and Kirsten should have been a successful couple. I think they should have been the most successful couple. Even Jasmine and Aries, I think they would have been successful had they spoken to people that had been through the process. Because some of these couples, for example, Jamie didn't like Doug. She said he wasn't a type. Jeffy didn't like Shanice. He said she wasn't a type. And yet they are all happily married. So I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I digress. Okay, so we'll start with Aries and Jasmine. They're the first couple up. And for me, this couple is very disappointing. Very disappointing in the sense that they were a greatly matched couple. I think they reminded me of Woody and Amani. Please don't shoot the messenger. It's just the fact that Woody wasn't... Even his friends were very skeptical when he said he wanted to get married, because they didn't think he was ready for marriage. But he shocked everyone, including the viewers, because I remember during his sort of first episode when they were saying he spends $500 on clothes, he does this, everyone was just like, oh, he's just there to be on TV. But now he's happily married, he's bought a home, he's got a family. And I think the same could have been said for Aries. Had Aries not had people in his ear sort of whispering to him, oh no, this is not a good thing for you. Had his cousin not been talking to him and bringing all this negative energy, I think Aries, this could have been amazing for him. They do talk and they say, the one thing about their marriage is they've always got along, they've never fought, they're non-confrontational people. So the house has always been very peaceful. And Aries says, sort of mentioned that he looked forward to coming home because Jasmine made it into a home, in the sense that there was always flowers, it was always peaceful, there was food, everything was there for him, to come home to. And so he appreciated her for that. And so I also get where Jasmine is coming from, that she put in 100%. Aries didn't put in 100% until after week 5. And by that time, Jasmine had already withdrawn. And she is right to say, in a marriage, two people have to be in it 100%. You can't be half in it, half out, and then expect the marriage to work. And Aries himself acknowledges that he should have come in at 100%, but for the first 4 weeks, he was in his head. He was worried about what was going on, and he was worried about this attraction thing. And it's like, he should have spoken up. When the experts were talking to him, he should have listened to them, and he should have drowned out his cousin. But he kept listening to what his cousin was saying. He kept focusing on that. And I have a feeling that cousin was sending him texts and calls and whatever off camera, and sort of turning him away from Jasmine for reasons best known to her. And I like the fact that Aries acknowledges that there is an attraction building, and it's a pity that he didn't change the narrative. I think he means he didn't talk to the producers and tell them that I want to stop this. I'm not attracted to my wife voice anymore. I want to say a connection is building. And sadly, because he gave them those talking points at the start, producers tend to pick up on something and run with it and run with it. And they ran with it so much that it turned Jasmine off. Had he said, the moment he started to feel something for her, had he told the producers, no, I want us to change, I want us to talk about how attracted I am to my wife and how I feel about my wife, I think Jasmine would have come on board. But the fact that he didn't say anything very positive until we saw them at the last couples retreat, I think this is why they are where they are. I think Aries came in with the hope that Jasmine would say yes. That's the impression that I got. The way he was talking about her, the way he seemed sort of to care about her, and how he was sort of radiant. I think he had the impression that Jasmine was going to say yes. I have to give it to mavs though, because they let Jasmine go first, and so I'm happy about that. And she gave her piece and said, I have things that I was looking for in a marriage, but sadly Aries didn't offer that, so I want a divorce. And I think Aries was heartbroken, because you could tell he was upset, because I don't think he expected her to say he wants a divorce. She wants a divorce. I think he expected her to say, okay, let's keep going, let's keep trying and see once the cameras go away, because he kept saying to her, maybe when the cameras go away, we'll be okay. So I think he expected her to say yes to them trying without the cameras. And when she said no, I think this triggered him. And this is why you could tell there was sort of a slight break in his voice when he said, I also want a divorce. And when Pastor Carl asked him, what is your, your red flags or your triggers? And he went, oh, well, self-love. I think two people need to have self-love. And that way, when they come together, then there will be a unified union. And it's like, it's not about self-love. No matter how much Jasmine loved herself, you said you were not attracted to her, which knocked her confidence. So no matter how much she loved herself, that was never going to make up for whatever you said or whatever your cousin said. And because when those comments were made, you didn't fight for your wife. So you can't suddenly turn around and say, oh, well, she didn't have self-love. And I think this is where it just all went south. And I have to give it to Jasmine again, because she spoke up for herself and said this man was not ready to be married. He can't tell me that I don't have self-love, and that's the reason why we didn't work. He wasn't ready to be married, and he didn't apply himself, and this is why we are where we are. And I have to say this, Aries is going to regret this decision. He will never be able to find someone as amazing as Jasmine. He's going to struggle before he finds someone, and he's already 40. So I don't know at what age he expects to find the right person. And in his confessional, he's saying, well, I was looking forward to marriage sex, lift the leg up. And I was like, Aries, Jasmine is right. You were not ready to be married. And she's dodged a bullet. I hate to say it, but, she's escaped without hopefully any scars. At least Aries was not as bad as Chris and Paige, but I think still he was bad in the sense that he kept telling her that he's not attracted to her. So it's going to take a lot for someone to convince Jasmine that they really like her and they really find her attractive. So her next relationship is going to be a bit hard on whoever she matches up with. But it's sad that they're divorcing, but it can't be helped. Anyway, okay. Next up is Chris and Nicole. Am I surprised with their decision? Not really. I think they both were matched with someone who met their bare minimum requirements, and because of that, they were happy to just continue to run with it to see how far they could take it. In the sense that, from the way Nicole was presented to us, right when she was introduced as one of the prospective brides, I didn't expect her to suddenly calm down and be so well mannered and whatever, the way she behaved. I think she sort of changed herself or molded herself into the woman that she felt Chris needed because of the advice that she received from his friends and family. As for Chris, well, I think he got someone who cared for him enough to want to sort of forgo everything else she needed in order for him to be happy, and that was enough for him, because he said in his previous relationships he always was the one making sacrifices, and in this time with Nicole, we can see that she got her dad to come and look after her dog so that he could bring his dogs with him. Everything he wanted, she was willing to put up with just so they could get married. And the moment he told her he loved her, that was it. It was a given. She never then did anything to sort of go against whatever he said. I think she just felt it was important to stay in his good books. That way he could say yes on decision day. Even when they were arguing about the apartment hunting for after the experiment, he sort of said, no, we've talked about it, that's enough. And she stopped. Whereas I think, had it been anybody else, she would have kept going and going and going. So I think Nicole and Chris are something that is to be looked at and just expect either they stay together or they get divorced, because I don't think they presented themselves as their honest selves to one another. And I think there are a lot of gray spots that they didn't address during this 8-week process, that when the producers go away, when the experts go away, are going to cause a lot of rift in that marriage. And I wouldn't be surprised if they eventually do get divorced at some point, if they don't put in the work that's needed to address the issues that they have. And I think because they also trauma bonded, I know I normally criticize people who talk about trauma bonding. I think the fact that it seems the majority of their former relationships were very traumatic for them, and suddenly they've found someone who can relate to that and who can understand with that and who can empathize with that. I think this is why they've decided to say yes. They both said yes. I wasn't surprised that they were both going to say yes, because they saw themselves as the perfect example of the ideal couple, and they seemed to be the only couple that was functioning throughout the experiment. So I wasn't surprised that they said yes. It was a given they were going to say yes anyway, so I wasn't surprised with that. And then Gina and Clint. Why are we pretending Gina and Clint need to make a decision? Why Gina and Clint, I think the problems started. I think they were attracted to one another at the wedding, and then I think when they got to the honeymoon, something happened. Something happened before Gina went into the ginger comments. Something happened that turned her off, and then she was looking for an excuse to break up with him. And I think this is why she brought up the ginger comments, to frustrate him and hopefully get him to say no, you want a divorce. But he decided to go along with it and refused to give her the divorce that she wanted, I think just to spite her. And because after she spoke about the ginger comments, he then said he was more into athletic girls. And she was offended because of the comments he made. He didn't say she was not athletic. He said, my type. Everybody's got a type. Even though I always say, when you go on to Married at First Sight, you need to forgo your type, because your type is the reason why you've ended on Married at First Sight. So there's no reason why you should be saying this person is not my type because your type in the real world didn't like you. I think somebody brought it up, and that's how Clint sort of started it off. And they must have had a discussion with production to say, let's keep going. And Gina must have agreed on the basis that she continues to plug her business, because this is all she's talked about throughout the season. And the fact that she's, every time they've been said, what would you want Clint to comment you on, she's always brought up her business. And I think this is why she stayed in the experiment. Clint, I don't understand why he stayed, whether it's because he just didn't want to pay the 50,000 or whether it's because he was attached to Hank. I really don't get it. I personally don't get Gina. I personally don't get Gina, because they're asked, were there any good things about the marriage? And Clint was, it was nice to have someone there, someone to talk to, someone to whatever. And Gina had to bring in her business. Oh, it was nice that I had Clint there. He was very supportive when it came to my business. He was willing to listen. He was willing to give ideas. And it's like, You are not here to discuss your business. You are here to discuss your marriage. If you're not going to discuss your marriage, there's the door. Exit left. We don't need to hear any more from you. And I have to give them credit for allowing Clint to go first and say, this ain't it for me. This ain't it. I want a divorce. And Gina then came in afterwards. I think she thought she'd get the upper hand and be the one to say no to Clint. And then, Clint was asked, is there anything that would have improved the attraction, whatever? And Clint was like, I had to restrain myself because I'm somebody who's an outdoorsy person. I'm used to doing things and I'm used to being with people that are very active and like doing things with me, outdoorsy. And Gina goes, oh, well, I am also an outdoorsy person. It's not that I'm not very. This is the same thing. She has issues about herself. She's worried about, she's got body image issues. She's got images maybe with, I'm just assuming, with her weight. And so every time Clint says anything, I like sporty girls, I like people who are very active, it triggers her. And that trigger is the reason why she decided to cut Clint out and not have anything to do with him. They had a conversation. Is there anything that you feel you could have done differently? And Clint was right to say, it's like picking the lottery numbers the next day. You already know what the numbers are. So what's the point? I think this is what he more or less said. And Gina's, oh, maybe you should have tried harder. You should have created activities. You should have pushed harder. And it's like, you kept telling this man you were repulsed by him. You kept telling him that you didn't find him attractive. You couldn't stand him. Why should he have put in an effort to try and make anything work when you said you didn't want anything to do with him? Why? I think she was just looking for an excuse. She was just looking for a way to blame Clint, to say the reason why we didn't work is because Clint didn't put in the effort. And I have to give it to Pastor Carl because he said to her, the two of you, is there anything either one of you could have done to make this relationship work? So I don't know. Am I surprised they're divorced? No, I think they've been divorced since Mexico. I think they just went along just because Dom and Mac got divorced. That would have only left three couples, and it wouldn't have given the show enough time to run an episode, and the show would have ended early. So I think the producers just kept them there and just kept them going just so they could get material enough to have a season. I don't think they stayed on the show because they wanted to be married. And I think the other thing was Gina agreed to stay on the show so that she could plug her businesses. That's the impression that I get. Anyway, I digress. With Kirsten and Shaq, I was going to discuss them, but the fact that we were left on a cliffhanger with Shaq, I don't think it's fair to discuss Kirsten and then not discuss Shaq. So I think I'll leave them until next week, and then I'll discuss them when Shaq's decision is made. Do I think he's going to say yes or no? I think he might surprise us. I think he might surprise us. Kwame from Love Is Blind surprised us and said yes, so I think he might surprise us. I always had high hopes for Kirsten and Shaq. I thought they could have been the next Brianna and Vincent, but hey, it is what it is. Anyway, thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Bye everyone.